About $1,500. That's roughly how much it costs to become chartered with Engineering New Zealand. In this video, I've looked at the minimum cost and the typical cost for Engineering New Zealand is about the same, of becoming a chartered engineer with Engineering New Zealand. It's part of a series of videos I'm doing on how much it costs to get chartered with different organisations from around the world, and hopefully give you some more information about how you can become a chartered engineer as well. The obvious comparison for Engineering New Zealand is Engineers Australia. So I've got here the difference in price between Engineering New Zealand and Engineers Australia. So as you can see, Engineering New Zealand is a fair bit cheaper. Now this is not a strict comparison, the currencies are a little bit different, but Engineering New Zealand is typically about 1,500 New Zealand dollars, whereas Engineers Australia would be more about 2,400 New Zealand dollars, depending on how long you've been a member of the organisation first, because while Engineering New Zealand doesn't require you to be a member before getting chartered, Engineers Australia does. So Engineers Australia has not only a higher chartership fee, but it also has a higher annual fee for the membership. Once you are chartered, both organisations require you to maintain your membership, and that's about $460 every year with Engineering New Zealand, whereas it's probably about 600 New Zealand dollars to maintain membership with Engineers Australia. I've done a more detailed comparison video. If you hit subscribe following the channel, I'll release that shortly, about the differences in the different costs of becoming chartered for various organisations around the world. So feel free to follow along and I'll release that video soon. There are alternatives to Engineering New Zealand and Engineers Australia, and if you're interested in those, then hopefully my video will help you out. So I dived right into the Engineers Australia process as I finished university in Australia, and they had recruited me as a student, and I didn't think to take a look around at some of the other options for becoming a chartered engineer, Engineering New Zealand being one of them. So I spent quite a bit of money first before I looked into it, which may have been a mistake on my part, because the Engineering New Zealand option is cheaper. It seems that Australian degrees are recognised. The only downside, it seems, to the Engineering New Zealand option is that there is a 6-yearly, I think, reassessment, which is a bit different to, I think Engineers Australia is more by audit rather than by a strict assessment after a certain period of time. So if you're interested in following along with how I go there, hit subscribe. My name's Chris, and I share on this channel some of the tools and lessons that I've learned and developed over the years becoming an engineer and improving myself as a consultant. I'm a consulting engineer. So hit subscribe if you're interested in learning more of those lessons or learning about some of those tools that I've used to improve myself professionally. So hopefully I'll see you in the next video.